with some line stuff? Is Carter Hart in for you guys?
Carter is playing, yes.
And is Max Wellman and Nick Sealer out? Are they the odd guys out?
Nick Seal will be the defenseman out, yeah, and Willie will be the forward, yes.
Which forward is coming down for you guys? If you
Well, I think that's all of them, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, it's only 12.
Yeah.
Wellman's up.
Willie's out.
Willie's out.
Oh, Willie's out, yeah, no problem, no problem.
Sorry about that. Is this a game that you want to emphasize trying to jump on these guys, given they played last night, they're traveling? How critical would the first 10 minutes be for you guys?
Yeah, well, we've been trying to concentrate on our starts no matter what. So no matter who we played, when they played, it's about us, about trying to play the right way and trying to get a good start. Haven't had a lot this year. I wouldn't say I haven't had a lot, but we just haven't scored the first goal a lot this year. Trying to work on that part of the game.
John, I know you like that line, Frost line with JVR and Tippett. Speaking specifically to Tippett, he kind of went through a run over the last few weeks where he was struggling to score. It looked like on Saturday his playmaking was on point. Are you seeing him kind of rediscover what was making him so
He's
effective?
climbing out of it, yeah. He was more active. You noticed him more, his skating. I just felt he was trying to make more of a difference. And I don't think that's a physical skill, that's a mental skill. I think we're going to go through some ups and downs with him until he gets that totally consistent. But I liked his game. His last game was good. That line was good.
When we talked to you a month ago, you said similarly that Morgan Frost has kind of been up and down. Now, a month since that point, where do you feel like his game is now?
Yeah, I think he's been more consistent. I still think there's a ways to go for him. He's made more plays. I've seen him, as we break down the tape, I've seen him more involved in battling for pucks, being in the areas to battle for pucks. I think that's why the line has had the puck more. So you don't make a final assessment on the guy right now. He's getting the minutes. He's getting important minutes. Will again tonight. He just has to concentrate on what he does, his strength, his playmaking, but also the other part of the game, and I think he's doing that.
You mentioned after the game that you kind of thought yourself about whether to break them up or keep them together. Glad you did.
Yeah.
I guess just over the course of however many games they've put together now, how big has it been for them to have that consistency and build that chemistry?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I kept them together, because I don't want to overcoach it. I don't think they're going to be perfect all the time. I like both of our offensive lines. I like what Farabee did with TK and Casey also. So you don't want to. We developed 20 scoring chances. It's the most scoring chances we've developed in quite a while. Gave up 23, which needs to be corrected. But you got to watch yourself as a coach, not trying to be too fine and trying to do too much and allow them to play through it. I think it proved beneficial for us. Although we lose the game, I still thought they developed a lot of offense.
In the decor, obviously for the last few weeks you've had Rist lining up on the top pair. Tony was out, first with Hellis scratch, then with his family. But do you see Risto, is it more like he's on the top pair because you ideally would want Tony there, but you're waiting for him to kind of rediscover his game? Or I know you said that you thought Risto's been playing better. Do you think that Risto, I guess, at this point deserves to be on the top pair?
Yeah, I do. I do think he deserves to be. I think it's I'm not sure we can call it a top pair. I think it's a pair that's defending hard. Is that the top pair? I don't know. It gets a lot of the top line minutes against the opposing top line. I think he's improved. I think he's improved with his stick. I think he's improved with his physical play. So I think he deserves to be there. We're also trying to Tony's had some deficiencies in his defensive game, and we're trying to get him away from that situation, playing against top guys, and allow himself to get back into it. He's been banged up. He's missed a game because of me, my decision. He has a family situation. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I don't want to make excuses for him. I just think we need to spend more time, and Bradshaw has, as far as how we play defense. And the biggest thing with Tony is he needs to cut down his skating and needs to identify who his guy is and close him out and not come off of him. he has legs to close out people, but then he comes off of them, and it kind of makes everybody else swim from there. So that's a big part of the game we're working on with Tony, without trying to hamper his offense. And so we'll keep the pairs, we'll keep Risto and Provy together, and then we'll see how it goes as far as we give Tony some time to work on his defensive part.
Last season, Rasmus and Travis Sanheim worked together for most of the season. Why have you opted to keep them separate from a stylistic standpoint or otherwise?
No reason. We just look at pairs, and we have now we have Yorkie here. I want to put him on the left side. He'll play left side tonight with Bronner. See him on the left side also. So there's no particular reason. Sometimes it comes with in-game matchups. It's a read on who's playing well. When they play well, do you stick with them? Individual play, does he deserve more ice time? All those things come into play. So there's no science to it by no means.
A lot of times when you put pairings, or they have put pairings together in the past, it's a little more offensive guy and like a little more defensive oriented guy. For example, like Sanheim and Risto. So I guess, what do you see from pairing Provy and Risto together? Like, how do they complement each other?
Well, I think they've been as far as the hardness on our coverages and closing people out, they've been good at it. Trying to get Provy's game back as far as moving the puck a little bit. I think he's holding on to it a little bit too much. We got to get him moving the puck quicker now. So it ebbs and flows. We just like the pairing, and I leave it to Shawzy. Come game time, when we're in the game, I don't pay too much attention to the pairs. I'll let Brad make the call as far as who's going, who isn't. But they've been pretty consistent in stopping plays. It's been a big part of our philosophy here, how to stop plays defensively, and those two have done a pretty good job against some top lines.
Kind of jumping off from that, you mentioned you sort of let Brad kind of manage the in-game pairs. How does that relationship, obviously you've worked with him for years, how does that work in terms of making decisions about usage? Do you guys talk a lot before the games and in between games, and then he sort of knows where your head's at, and then he kind of has his input as well?
Yeah, we do it even in between periods too. I can't be focused on what he's thinking as far as pairs. I'm watching players, and I'm watching our concept, and that includes all 5 players on the ice. So I'll if I see something that maybe I liked or didn't like, I'll talk to him, and he'll give his thoughts on it. You know, he has more information as far as that end of the bench. But when I look at the individual player, I'll bring up a point. For instance, we already talked. Is Tony closing people out? Can we use him against that line? And those are the conversations we have in between periods. Not so much after games, but when I watch the tape the following day, that's when we have more conversations. But I trust my staff. I trust him. We've been together for so long. He knows we're kind of in sync anyway. But he's got a pretty good mind, and he's more in tuned to some of the individual stuff those defensemen are doing with their sticks, all the things you need as a defenseman, and I think I let him act accordingly to it.
I know you guys are very focused on you guys, but what are some of the things you have to do to try to slow down Johnny Gaudreau?
Yeah, and that I don't think you stop Johnny Gaudreau. He's a really good player. I think one of the biggest things with Johnny is not so much him sometimes, it's how he utilizes the other players on his line. I think I know Jenner's hurt. I think Johnny will be playing with Patty and the young Johnson. Some good offensive people. Patty's a really good player. He's going to look for him all the time. So it's kind of it's why he's such a good player. You got to be concentrating on him with just his speed and his quickness as far as beating you one-on-one or carrying it through the neutral zone. But when it gets in the offensive zone, you got to worry about him, but also the other guys that he can utilize because he's that good. So, to me, defending away from the puck with a tough offensive player sometimes is a priority versus just worrying about him one-on-one because they're so good at finding people late or whatever it may be. It's where we struggle with the Rangers. We struggled. I think we gave up 23 scoring chances. I think 18 and 19 of them came off the rush, a really good rush team. That line tonight against Columbus, different team than the Rangers, but that line, very good rush line. So we got to be careful about the middle of the ice and looking for people that he'll utilize.
Speaking to the power play, obviously you weren't here for this, but for years at Philly, it was just, whatever power play unit Claude Giroux was on, that was the top unit. It was just, everybody knew that. With kind of the position you guys are in right now, do you even look at the power plays as like power play 1, power play 2?
No, I don't. We used, I forget what game it was, Lot scores a goal. The power play prior to them scoring a goal, they were good. I don't think Kevin or Tony was on that one. I forget. We've used some different groupings. I don't, it isn't 1 and 2. And sometimes I make the decision on, I talk to Rock and he gives me some information, especially the entries where I think we've struggled. I think that's the number one priority for our group is getting it set up. It's been a struggle for us. I talk to Rock how he's feeling about each group and we act accordingly. Sometimes, Charlie, it depends on, were they just on the ice prior to the penalty being called? So you have to go with the other group. So there's a lot of different things that come into it.